We're all still reeling from a sudden passing of death. Appreciate our coming short notice. Sure. Can you hear me all right? How about that? Any better? So this is my first funeral and my first wedding of this car. It came out of this. Dear friends, let us now bow our heads and pray. Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses. As we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. My beloved Lord, saints and sages of all religions, we lay the flowers of our devotion on the altar of our love for you. Be with us to witness this holy ceremony. As we come together to honor this soul,
as we come together to honor this soul,
who has left us to become one with thee.
who has left us
For our prayers and the raising of our console, and to give love and comfort to the dear ones he has left behind. As musicians, musicians like that, having close your eyes and keep attention silently, repeat the following prayer. Upon thee, let me love thee, let me serve thee, let me worship thee alone. Thou art all and all in all. Short meditation. Let us feel joy and take comfort as we read the beautiful 23rd Psalm. And the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In the Gospel of St. John, we are told, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. And whither I go, ye know, and the way ye know. In 2 Corinthians, it says, we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. For we know that if our earthly house of this tabernacle were dissolved, we have a building of God, an house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. A few people talking about here. I'd like to start with the earliest that I can remember David was at Mother Hamilton's house for Christmas. And we had a little celebration that she could do for like 20 people. And so that's really my earliest memory, though I'm sure I met him before that, in 1976. We got quite a bit closer once he was over here in Seattle area, longer. And then we spent most of the rest of our lives together in one form or another. He lived with me for a while, and lived with me. Kate and I got married in she lived with us in the late mid-90s or so. And so we got to know each other pretty well. I was from Eastern Washington, Tri-Cities area, and we probably drove right by each other many times on the roads. From Sunnyside, because we drove by that area a lot, because we lived in Yakima for a while too. Strange to think that we didn't meet until many years later, and we met with Bonnie's house, a relationship with a love affair with our teacher, Mother Hamilton, who taught us a secret that we shared, that many people don't know. Much of what we learn as children, we don't really believe. We have some experience of faith. We then maybe have knowledge that it's true, that God exists, and that He's all around us, and He takes interest in our lives. I think that with the course of events, meeting Mother, and the other teachings we were involved with, but mostly because of the power of God and Mother Hamilton, We both realized that what we had been taught as children was actually true in many, many ways. It certainly turned me back into a more Christian position of respecting what Christianity was. We were more of a syncretist because we also had a lot of Hindu and Eastern teachings. But Mother kind of always brought all that together. Was focused mostly on God. She insisted that Christ was the highest state that anyone can reach, and that the state of what we're really doing here is, and what was originally taught, was to do with the emancipation of our soul. At least they call it salvation. They call it the same in the West, but they don't mean exactly the same thing that we do. So these were shocking things for us in a way, but they also seem to fit into the notion of reincarnation, and all of those teachings came together. And that's mostly what we talked about. So that's why it's important to introduce this. It was not the trivial aspect of our lives, it was the central part of what we were involved with in our lives. And we continue to talk about these subjects and study them in deeper extents. We learn to meditate and to learn to listen to God and to comport ourselves as best we could with the knowledge that really we have a lot in this world that we should admire, and we should accept and surrender to what God has created here in the world. It is a difficult plane to live, but it is also something that we can learn a lot about. We can learn things we cannot learn any other way. So it's hard for me to deal with the fact that I won't be able to call David anymore and to see him. So, I'll go through this with people that as we lose them. It's just that natural event. It strikes me so many times during the last few days.
For many of you that took David's classes, you know what I'm doing right now. It's tapping. Love, that was what David was all about. When I first met him, I knew right away there was something very special about him. As my guru, closest friend, and husband, I've been privileged and blessed beyond any words that can describe to have been able to be with him for 25 years. He spent all the time we were together focused on bringing myself and all of you back to God, to knowing our oneness with our Heavenly Father. What was it like living with my guru? I was asked that by Corliss at an ashram, and I answered, unfathomable. I knew that I was only experiencing a very small part of who David really is. He saved my life, and all the years before meeting him was really preparation for my becoming his devotee, but also his friend and life partner. All these years we were together, we were very rarely apart. And of course, different things came up, but we were really never argued. It was more about talking through what worked and what didn't work in our relationship, and sorting through the intricacies of living in the world. The only times he really got angry at me and let me know about it was when I wasn't doing my work, that I was afraid to talk to him out of fear or shame. He would say, I don't care how bad it is. As long as you talk to me about it, it will be okay. In the marriage vows, we really stressed to each other the importance of forgiveness. And he taught me that time and time again through his example of loving kindness. He used to say that the thing that made him the happiest was when the devotees did their own work. He was fun, generous, kind, sweet, gentle, clear, and such a warm and engaging sense of humor. And he would often say, "What's the fun?" He always loved how God presented new adventures to us, and he would say that God would do that in the most unexpected and delightful ways. While serving David in the body, I was focused on his physical form and needs, and I knew and often experienced who he was in God. But I can say now, I know and feel and experience the absolute true nature of all his love, both human and divine. I want to now tell you about what I witnessed and heard him say the last few days that he was here. Up until the very end, he was very present, and when I would talk to him, especially in the last few days, he didn't respond to me, but then all of a sudden, I would say something, and he would either whisper something or nod his head. Seeing him lying there in bed, I asked him, "What is the purpose of all of this?" And he said, "To focus on God." He had said, at one time, he said, "Sign of the cross." And I wasn't sure if I was to put his body in the sign of the cross. So I asked Reverend Jill and Reverend Larry to come in, and they witnessed me putting his body in the sign of the cross. We all observed him like this for a while in quiet and solitude. But later, Jill mentioned that maybe this, doing the sign of the cross, but on his forehead, he lives in heart center. And so later that day, I did all those things, and he was proof yes. Here's some things that he said. He said, "God is beyond the light." He said, "God touched me on the forehead." Joy, joy, joy. Why not? For about 2 days, he had the eyes like Lahari Master, with his left eye half open and the right. He said he saw his circle of love expanding out from the room, community, country, and all. The day he left, God directed me to wash him in the holy Ganges water that had been brought previously by Jill. I took a white cotton washcloth and I bathed him in the sacred water and chanted, "God, Christ, Gurus." And while doing so, the experience was so very blissful and extremely powerful. On August 12th, all afternoon and early evening, I felt that I couldn't stay in the room. It wasn't that I was being pushed out or that he didn't want me there. It was more that it was just too full. And Ruth helped me realize he was expanding more and more into the light of God. So I now would like to read, I'd like to end with what he had written to me for my birthday in 2014. Reverend Jill had made me a cardboard, fabric-covered birthday cake, and on the large bottom layer, she had fellow devotees write short messages for my birthday, which were so loving and thoughtful. On the top layer, the smaller box were messages from David, and I wanted to share these with all of you, as I know that it's a gift for all of us. Excuse me, the little pieces of paper that he wrote individually. I sang on each paper. Surrender to God brings peace. The surest sign of union with God is ever new joy. Union with God is a deep connection with all humanity. Love is the one eternal constant. Seva is love made visible. God and Guru's blessing. And in service one to another, we are all lifted higher and higher.
How am I supposed to follow that? My name's Jill, for those of you who don't know me. And David and I were friends first, and we became my guru many years after we had been buddies. I figured we must have had gone out to lunch together at least 300 times. So we were lunch buddies for a long time. And when I was thinking about what to say today, I thought about writing it down, and David always said, don't write down what you're going to say. Think of a couple of stories to tell people, and then let God do the rest. And the stories that came to mind just didn't seem to fill the bill, and they were silly, and it just feels like that's not what I'm supposed to do today, although that was often my role in his life, was to be the comic relief. But I do want to read an email that I'll read what I wrote, and then I'll read what David responded, because his response is so telling of who he was in my life, and I think in so many other people's lives too, at every level. So, dearest David, without your shining example and loving guidance, I would still be walking in darkness, not knowing where to go. I now know the way home. What greater gift could there be? Thank you, all my love, Jill. And that was just about exactly 15 years ago. And David says, Dear Jill, thank you for your loving email. I had thought to invite you for coffee because I never turned it down, so it was never really an invitation. But God has kept me so busy within. It's been very interesting to see how they have used this form. It often comes to my mind the saying of Jesus, my kingdom is not of this world. This kingdom goes beyond the intellect, beyond the ways the world judges actions or accomplishments. Some days when worn out with the inner world, I feel like the child's view of the scriptures who wrote, and this is the actual, what David wrote. In the first book of the Bible, Genesis, God got tired of creating the world, so he took the Sabbath off. Well, that makes me laugh, he says. The body gets worn out, but we are here to work, and it is joy to know that the reason we are here and to fulfill that purpose. Thank you again for your kind and loving words. Your love was shining from you on Sunday, and it was wonderful to see. I am so pleased with your progress. In divine love and light, David. The three things that I take away from what David taught me are to keep my mind on God, that life is joy, and never settle for bad coffee.
Well, first of all, this comes as a great shock. In my mind, we had David for another 20 years at least, and now those 20 years kept rolling forward with each additional year. And he's the type of guy that is so big and so huge that it's easy to lean against him. It's easy to latch onto his energy and let him be the engine. And he gave us all the charge to grow in God. And of course, we all take it seriously, but you don't have to work at it so hard when you have a man like that in your life. So this wasn't the plan in my mind. This was never the plan to have him not physically here, to not go talk to not meditate next to not look forward to the next retreat. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to always have him with us. But if you've been on the God path, you know that God has his own plans. And if you have faith, you know that they're for our best. They're for our greatest growth. So I have a gal that works for me. She's worked for me for 20 years. She's my right-hand gal, and I could not operate my business without her. She's smarter than me. She's wiser than me. She's a wonderful woman, and she had a relationship with David. And in 2015, her sister, her older sister, who she was very close to, she finally talked me into hiring her. And these two sisters, they had the voices of angels. And I thought, that's what I want people to hear when they call into my business. And so I hired her. She worked for me, for us, for 2 weeks, and the two sisters got to be together. And she went home for lunch one day. She got out of her car. She lived on a little hill. And the car never really went into park like it was supposed to. Later they said it was a defect of that particular type of a car. And it rolled backwards, and it dragged her down the hill. And then the car went up the hill a little ways and then came back down right on top of her. She was trapped under the car. And I had a construction project going across the street. One of my workers went over to try and roll the car off of her. And this poor gal grabbed his ankle, and he felt her grip finally loosen. He couldn't get the car off of her. And she passed away. And I couldn't understand it. That particular summer, we lost so much. It was one death after another. Lost my dad. And I called up David and I said, what's going on? What's happening here? How can she grow? And it made me realize that from our human perspective, things often look terrible. The worst possible thing that could happen. But God has another plan, and it's hard to see sometimes. And I think for each one of us in this room, we have an opportunity now to grow in a way we never had before. And if you want to honor David, if you want to make him happy, if you want to feel his smile on you, do what he admonished us to do his entire life. And mother before him, put your mind on God. Do God's bidding. Expand into that light of your own being, that infinite, expansive joy. And if you look at David's life, even from the outside, it was a blessed life. It was a magical life. But can we even begin to comprehend what it was like on the inside? The heights, the things he experienced,
are beyond words. They're beyond words to describe. He would try. He would try his best. But how do you describe the indescribable, the infinite, the joy? And that's what he wanted for each and every one of us. For those of you who have children, you think to yourself, what I want for my children is the very best. I want them to have the best of everything. I want them to have joy. I want them to have happiness. And what is the story of God? But that exact metaphor that we have for our own children. God wants the best for us. He wants us to experience that upliftment, that expansiveness. So if you've been mourning ever since you heard that David his physical body was weeping and the end was nigh, and then you heard about the actual passing, and you thought to yourself, what am I going to do? How can I possibly fill this hole that this giant was in my life? Well, if you look around, you don't see much. You don't see much that could possibly fill that hole. And then it suddenly dawns on you. There's only one thing big enough. There's only one thing large enough that could possibly fill that hole. And that's God. If you're feeling pain, if you're feeling loss, if you don't know what's going to happen, what's going to happen to this organization? What's going to happen to these teachings? How are things going to look? What are we going to do? You just put your mind on God. And you know that God has a perfect plan for you, all your brothers and sisters you see in this room. So if you want to honor David, there's no greater way to do it than to step up to what he's been encouraging us to do ever since he himself set foot on this path. Ever since we set foot on this path. And it's a big role. It's a big duty. Feeling sorry for yourself and your situation is the easy thing, the human thing. Be bigger. Be greater. Be what David knew you could be and do, and what he always encouraged in us. Be that. JJ.
Hello? Hi, my name is Patty, and husband of Jill and David and co-worker. Long ago, far away. David and I did some daily works together at lunch and coffee. He married me, but that's not me. He married my husband. 1992. So, and we just had a lot of fun together as friends and co-workers. And
After
got married, I had a little boy, he's lovely, and then I had another child, was looking up to him. And so, I always wanted a little girl coming in, and one of the things, such many things that happened is they went on and he brought me back a bunch of lesson items to help me with that. So, I'll give you some credit for at 43 at my new.
Hello, I'm Sean Roots. I met Dave probably 1975-ish or something. So I kind of see him more of a classmate. We had Mother Hamilton as our guru, our leader, and one thing different. I met Mother Hamilton in 1965. So my dad was one of her first disciples in America. Yeah, I wanted to say that Dave was really more dedicated than I've seen anybody in pursuing what he wanted to do. When I can compare to Jimi Hendrix, if someone wants to play guitar, Dave was what he wanted to find God. There was a lot of disciples of Mother Hamilton that wanted to do it, but Dave was really willing to sacrifice things. It kind of surprised me when we lived in Kirkland. Like, Dave, why can't you talk to me here? You're not talking for a year? Why'd you do that? I mean, he was always doing these things and he was directed to do it. But yeah, I think he was just so dedicated. He really had a clear idea of what he wanted to do in life. And a lot of us don't have that. A lot of us, when we with Mother Hamilton's teachings, we saw a way to do it, but he said, okay, this is it. When he first met her, he said, this is what I've been looking for. And he was really able to apply it better than a lot of us, I think, and reach where he wanted to go. And just, it's great that, to me, he's a regular guy that was able to reach at least some of his goals. And that's a good lesson to a lot of us, I think.
I think one thing David would have said, if I can do it, you can do it. That's something I don't need to put it on the spot.
Hi, my name's Rick, and we met David back in a gathering at Couples House at the mission started with D&D. And yeah, Mother was there, yeah. And David said one thing that was interesting. He said, you can either have sleep or you can have God, and at that time he said, I choose God. And he actually got it.
I met David 25 years ago, and we married my husband and I 15 years ago, and he baptized my younger daughter. And when I first met him, I was a single mom, and my stress level was so high. And I would meet with David regularly, and he taught me meditation and some things about this path that have brought me so much peace. And my life has become more and more peaceful through the years. So my gratitude is just so big and endless. And I feel I have so many tools and teachings to keep going, which gives me great comfort. And I wish that comfort for all of you as well. Thank you. Since Carla was talking about some of the things David said to her in the last few days, was the journey as well.
Just wanted to say thank you to Carla and to Derek and Lois for their perfect service today.
Home turning. And one of these men that she came to me in the room, and she gave me to David so I could learn something. And he taught me, and literally, he saved my life. He said that, and he literally did. And what Peter said, what am I going to do? That's God's to my mind. Well, it comes to the joy that he has been sending me for the last few weeks. It's boggling my mind, but here tears come, and I'm just thinking, how can I talk to the not hearing person who goes, oh, I'm here. So what he said, what I heard you say today from him is, David was, he is, and David is will be.
When we were little, David took us on God walks. And we would go from my grandma's house to Matthew's Beach with old bread and cookies and donuts, whatever he brought that day. And walk with God. That simple gesture of that child being a child and walking with God and seeing ducks and having something sweet is a guiding principle for my life. That is so beautiful. And I told him before he left that I'll always be his child. We got our wedding pictures not that long ago, my wedding in January. And after the ceremony, we walked up a trail on a little peninsula in Fidalgo Bay. And there's a photo of David walking up the trail with my husband and I. And it's just pure joy on his face. He has a smile from ear to ear, and he's walking briskly up the path, and that is how I've always been happy. I really enjoy. When I met David in 2000, when I came on a trip to Seattle. And I've leaned on him a lot, and he has been a counselor, a guru, a friend, through being a single mom and lots of challenges. And then in the last few years, it's been traveling more. One time in
David and Carla came back and we went to a service in Hawaii. And I said, I missed you so much. And his response was, where did I go? Which is a reference to another saint who said that also. So it feels like in the last couple of years, because he was traveling and because I was working a lot with my business, I was forced to connect with David more and with Bible and not depend so much on the physical, talking to him. But he was just so generous with all of us. He gave so much. He gave us all the tools, like Peter was saying, to do the same thing he did. So now we just have to put our shoulder to the wheel, like he said, and use the tools that he gave us. I just feel very blessed beyond words.
Can you hear me? My name is Bruce, I'm from Courtney. And I've known David, I guess I've known him for about 4 decades, maybe more. One of the things that really impressed me was his ability to counsel people, to be with you. And when Carla said, what's the fun? His playful side was there for me lots of times. But there was a much more serious side. When we were at the Nand Ashram, for those weeks, I watched him. I watched how he was respected by Swami Satchidananda. I was taking pictures of him holding hands with Swami Satchidananda. And I went, holy smokes, he's got some power too. And I think that it sort of behooves us now to reflect that power back to the world and to acknowledge what he's done for all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the people that supported him all these years. And Carla, God bless.
So my name is Sue, I'm one of the cousins. Unfortunately, I didn't know this side of David. And to hear this is absolutely remarkable. But let me tell you about the David I did know. The Hickenbottoms lived in Eastern Washington. We grew up in Western Washington, but gathered at our grandparents' for all holidays, whenever we could. I remember hard-boiling eggs at Easter time, dyeing them, and hiding them so many times that they absolutely crumbled because it was all bound. And eventually, yes, we threw them back and forth at each other. I had a great time. To where the next year when my grandparents' roses were blooming again, or was it tulips? I think I might have been tulips. They bloomed, and there were eggshells in the blossoms. And my grandmother could not figure out where they came from. You know. I remember being in my grandmother's basement, taking the pillows off the hearth, sliding I mean, from one end to the other of this gigantic reverend. And doing our very best not to slide into the wall that was solid brick, but come as close as we possibly could. And his laughter through the whole thing. I remember when he started Green River Community College, and he didn't have a place to live initially. So he came and stayed with us in our apartment. And the fun we had, sitting around the card table and just telling stories and laughing and going to Skipper's for all you can eat fish and chips on Tuesday night, and boy, could he put them away. And probably one of the most vivid memories was sitting out in, again, our grandparents' backyard with all of us gathered around the kid table. You two may have been old enough to be up at the adult table at that point, but Dave and I were still out there because he was just 10 months older than I. And somebody said, hey, will you pass me a roll? Well, that was too much for David to pass up. So of course he picked up a roll and in his best football stance got ready to pass it. And he did a pretty good job. Then they said, well, pass me the butter. And he picked it up. Just as my Aunt Joyce was coming out the door, and she said, whoa, no. But I think he would have made that pass. And so the side of David that we know was full of laughter and love of life. And yeah, you'll be missed.
My name is Brianna, and I met David when I was young, but came to him as an adult in my later 20s. And from the moment I met him, he embraced me as his spiritual daughter, which I really needed to know that I had a spiritual father. And he's always been so sweet to me. And Carla too, such a blessing from the very first moment and before. And he's blessed my entire family every step of my life. He's married us and he's baptized our girls and been with us through disease and almost death and many things that I could not have gotten through. And he's left me with my Heavenly Father because that's what he was demonstrating the whole time to me. And one of the things that I remember is he said some really sweet things over the years, and I wrote some of them down and laminated it. I should have brought that card. But one of the things was, how can you be alone when I love you so much? Not alone. And I know he's pouring his love on all of us.
I'm Andrea, and I met David through my mom, who was so devoted to him and to God, and showed me that true happiness came from loving God, and through David as the person to help me get there. And it took a long time for me to finally put 2 feet on the path. And David was so patient. Besides his humor, his patience was an incredible gift. When I finally told him, okay, I'm ready to use the G word, I'm ready to talk about God, he smiled and said to me, I've been waiting for you for so long. I had never felt love like I felt the love from David. And I knew in my heart that this was the truth. This was the path. This was, without any question, why I'm here and what I'm meant to do in this life. I felt very much like Peter described when I heard of his sickness, when I heard of his passing. How am I going to live without him? And when I had the blessing of visiting him in hospice, I walked into the room and he reached for my hand and didn't say a word, but all I felt was him telling me, it will all be okay. You're fine, you'll be fine, with his smile. So I must remember that hold I feel, I must build with God. And I know that makes David happy.
I got a response from the ashram. Kind of a long story about the ashram, but Mother Hamilton was at this place in South India that helped her through some spiritual experiences. The Swami there, named Swami Ramdas. So we've been attached to this ashram for years now. And so David has spent time there, and they know him very well. And the Swami Sachinanda is now gone, has passed, and Swami Muttananda also knows David very well. So he wrote this to Carla. This was just after she sent the last email. Hi all, Carla, your loving email has been received conveying the information about the memorial service for our beloved and revered David, scheduled to be held on the 18th of this month. What wells up in our mind at this point are the fond memories of the long association of Davidji and all of you with the ashram from the late 1990s, and how he was highly influenced by the inspiring life and mission of beloved Papa, Param Puja Mataji, and more deeply connected with Param Puja Swami Sachinanda. Davidji's radiant face with the ever-smiling, loving, and blissful approach endeared himself to everyone at the ashram. Though Davidji felt very sick, very seriously, and fell sick very seriously, and was hospitalized many times. What is more striking is the stoic self he possessed, in spite of the untold stress at the physical level. The dedicated, loving, patient service rendered by you in taking care of Davidji, and also updating all friends about his state of health periodically, is really remarkable and touching. The Novaji's words on Gandhiji's passing away seems relevant to be quoted here. When I heard of Bapuji's death, my immediate reaction was, now he has become immortal. Time has only strengthened that conviction. When Bapu was in the body, it took him time to go. It took time to go and meet him. Now it takes no time at all. All I need to do is close my eyes and I'm with him. When he was alive, I buried myself in his work, to talk with him only now and then. Now I talk with him all the time and feel his presence near me. The sages speak to us of the immense range of the soul, the self. We reverently accept their teaching. So long as a great soul lives in the body, his power is limited. But when he is released from the body, his power knows no bounds. We also remember, and that was the end of the quote from the Nova. We also remember how keen he was to be in the ashram in November 2019 to take part in the concluding program of Puja Swamiji's birth centenary year. We were all planning on going there. Though not in physical body anymore, he will continue to be a source of great inspiration and guidance to innumerable spiritual aspects. Deepest love to you all, Muttananda. And Kate found this wonderful quote of David's that he wrote in 2007. Embodied in the birth of a person, place, or thing is its death. This is true for every animate and inanimate creation. To discover the real nature of all creation requires the deepest of inquiries into consciousness, for it is there alone that truth can be discovered. What is revealed in transcendent consciousness is the supreme spirit that renders birth and death as a parenthesis in eternity. Now life is seen as a play of contrast within the unity of universal bliss. Real birth, the second birth that defeats death, is a realization of this liberating truth. David, we offer you these flowers as a symbol of our love for you. The white rose represents life in God and the purity and expression of your soul. The red rose represents the bouquet of our love and goodwill. Rosemary.
First heard this poem at mother's funeral, and it is part of her funeral service. And this Wednesday I read it at my mother's funeral. The Rose Beyond the Wall by A.L. Frank. Near shady wall, a rose once grew, budded and blossomed in God's free light, watered and fed by morning dew, shedding its sweetness day and night. As it grew and blossomed fair and tall, slowly rising to loftier height, it came to a crevice in the wall, through which there shone a beam of light. Onward it crept with added strength, with never a thought of fear or pride. It followed the light through the crevice's length and unfolded itself on the other side. The light, the dew, the broadening view were found the same as they were before, and it lost itself in beauties new, breathing its fragrance more and more. Shall claim of death cause us to grieve and make our courage faint and dull? Nay, let us faith and hope receive. The rose still grows beyond the wall, scattering fragrance far and wide, just as it did in days of yore, just as it did on the other side, just as it will forevermore.
Father, knowing that thou hast heard our prayers and light this candle as a symbol that David's soul is now burning bright as a candle of glory. Concentrating on his soul, will you please repeat after me with deep attention? In my integrity, beloved, wherein I see as God. I see you on the shining path. Your feet with glory shod. I see you free and unafraid. Above the clouds of doubt. Wherever you stay, wherever you go. God's angels camp about. This is my thought of you, beloved. Wherein I see as God. Father, we thank thee for the great privilege of having met this soul who is beloved of thee and all who know thee. Pour the healing balm of thy spirit on those who mourn for him, that they may feel joy in the knowledge that you have lifted him up and wholly protected in thy arms of everlasting bliss. own peace is. Concludes our service.
We will come and stay here for a quiet time where there'll be, a little bit of food
Thank